Hello and welcome back to episode number 4 already of the Training Log podcast, the podcast where two D3 runners give their perspective on running and training. I am Lucas Berg, along with Noah Pickard. Noah, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing great. Today we are joined by Luke Jarski. Jarski hosts PRs
Hello.
of 122 in the 600, 151 in the 800, and 404 in the 1500, and also runs 26:13 in 8K cross country. Jarski is a dominant middle distance runner in the SUNYAC, and it is a pleasure to be speaking with you. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, it's absolutely no problem. So just, want to get into it real quick. You just had your season opener running the 600. You just want to talk about how that race ran and what happened for you?
Yeah, honestly, I was pretty happy to race it because starting off, normally if whoever runs cross country, they don't really allow us to get back into track season before break, only because they like giving us a good break and they like us to not be going right back into racing after just giving our legs like a week of no running. So, but I honestly felt really good. I've been training really hard for it. And I'm really excited because I like getting the fast twitch under me and everything. And I know that I don't really get a chance to run the 600 a lot. So I knew that there was only one chance if I had, because the school record was attainable but not easy, to where I still wanted to try and go for it. And I knew that the only way I was going to go for it, and the only way of actually getting it, was if I went out hot and just see what I could hang on to. I knew that since it was 122, my plan was to run a 54 and then a 28. So 27, 27, 28. And I knew that I hadn't really been training much speed and everything, but I was happy with the way it held up. I really wish I stuck my tongue out at the finish line or something. Maybe I would have broke the school record. But
Yeah.
I mean, .01 off isn't bad. And granted, the school record for the 600 was set the week before SUNYAC's, which is obviously postseason shape, and I'm in preseason shape. So I'm happy the way that I'm looking right now.
That's awesome.
You missed it, like you said, like a hundredth of a second. But that's your first race coming off of like a big cross country block. How much confidence does that give you, like being that close, like this early in the season?
It gives me honestly a lot of confidence. I knew that I was capable of it, and I'm not really scared to go out in a race and make it hurt a little bit. I'm not afraid of a little sting. But coming off of cross country season, I was super stoked with it because I've never done as much mileage under me during cross country season. So I knew that my aerobic base was there, but I didn't know what my anaerobic base was going to be. And that gives me a pretty good vision of where it is right now. And, being able to cruise 27, 28 second 200s, I need to be able to do that for 4 laps now instead of 3 laps. So I definitely am feeling really good. My training's going well. And I'm just going to, no matter what, I'm just going to keep training really hard and keep my head down and focus on the process rather than just, if you focus on the process, then the goal will come. It's you got to trust.
It's as simple as that. So we are very happy to be having you here as a guest. I'm just going to really explain this new kind of format that we have going. We've done it in our interviews previously, but it's kind of official what we're doing now. So what you just kind of heard, that's kind of like our warm-up. We're going to treat this whole thing like a practice, essentially. So what you just heard was some warm-up questions, kind of getting comfortable, getting into it. The big interview, that's going to be our workout, essentially. And then we kind of got some cool-down questions at the end. And then stretching, our stretching little routine at the end is having, if you have any questions for us at the end or just anything you want to say to us. But that's really how it's going to go.
Okay.
Here's my last little warm-up question. It's cold out right now.
It's cold.
And it's snowy all the time. What is the best time of year to run, would you say?
You know what? I think – oh, wow, that's actually a really good question. I'm going to actually say, my ideal running weather is maybe 60 and sunny. I'm going to say 60 and sunny, shirtless running weather, and just with a kind of a cool breeze. I think that's right there is my perfect, because I think that there's fun ways to look at every season of running. Sometimes summers can get really hot and brutal, and obviously winter's up here. It's barely even starting, and it's already cold. But I would say that's the best for me. Like I think in the spring when it starts warming up and you get that first couple of days of like some warm weather, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Awesome. We've had a lot of debate about
A
it
lot
so
of debate,
far.
and I think I've changed my answer on every single episode.
Yeah,
I think
honestly,
the first
yeah.
one was summer. Last episode I said winter. Now I don't even know.
I really have no all of them. I guess that's gonna be my answer.
Because there is ways to look at all of them. Even like in the winter, sometimes just bundling up
Exactly.
and just going out.
And just running on the snow on a trail or
Yeah.
something
The
is like the
views
funnest thing
Of
ever.
the snow on the
Exactly.
ground and everything, or on the trees.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Could be anything.
All
But
right.
yeah, so let's really get into it now.
So going into a workout now. What's your favorite, or not your favorite, but what's describe your start in the sport of running and like how you got into it.
So the way I actually started running, I didn't start running until junior year of high school. I was a wrestler for actually a while. I started wrestling. I wrestled for like a couple years in elementary school, but it was kind of like it was. I'm not saying that it was my dad that threw me into it, not at all, because my dad was always a wrestler and I honestly liked it. But as a kid, it was a very brutal sport, and I always ended up crying, and in like second grade or something, and I would just go back to it. And but then once I got into like 7th, 8th grade, I absolutely loved it, and I loved like the grittiness of the sport, and just the brute force of it and everything. So I started wrestling for a while, and then I was trying to cut weight. I was trying to cut weight to go down a weight class come winter season, and I just did it, and I knew that the good way to do it was just to run and not eat a ton. So I decided to do cross country, and I instantly loved the guys on the team. They're all super fun and everything. And I remember the 5K time trial in the beginning of it, I ran like 18:30 or something. And then by the end of my first season of cross country, I ran 17:32 in the 5K. So it was definitely like okay, I'm okay at this. Like, I'm definitely pretty all right at this, and I want to keep going because it honestly was really fun, and I knew I had some good potential in it. So I didn't want to waste it or anything, because with wrestling, I was never amazing at it. Like I would have a winning record on varsity, but my team was state champions that year.
Oh wow.
So I didn't really get the starting spot I always wanted, but I always got a top 7 spot, which was fun.
Yeah.
And it was just great like that. But then I realized that I wanted to do it in college, so I ended up actually quitting wrestling my senior year, and I didn't wrestle my senior year because I wanted to run indoor and have that kind of experience, which it definitely was a hard decision, but I don't regret anything about it.
So kind of jumping off that, I want to ask about your relationship with your high school coach, Deggs, because I've certainly heard a lot about him.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just curious what your relationship was like with him.
And especially you guys being around Shimmy and everything. Shimmy is a great disciple of Deggs, that he likes to say. Deggs is he's a very great coach, very well respected coach, and I've learned a lot from him. And especially going from running under Deggs to running under Kelly, and like Kelly and Chris, they're very different coaches to where Deggs was more like, okay, you run, and you run hard, and you run fast multiple times a week, and then you'll get better. It was a very traditional style of training that there's a fine line, because that's also what causes a lot of injuries and everything. And just with high school runners, I'll tell you what, there was a couple people that dropped pretty quickly after some of his workouts. But I wouldn't trade it for anything, because I loved running under him. And if you just did everything he said and you took care of yourself, he promises to take care of you for a long time. He was the one that actually directed me towards Oneonta, same as Shimmy. He knew that I wanted to be a teacher, and he knew that we have a great program here. So he definitely was a very big deciding factor in that. But I still have a great relationship with him. He texts me after almost every one of my races, still, and I always, when I go back home, I always make it a point to see him and show up to a practice. And I just know that being a former captain of Massapequa, chief for life.
Gotcha.
Going back to your high school days again, do you think wrestling and that wrestling background has made you a tougher runner?
Absolutely. I would not doubt it for anything, because I think that the way that wrestling carried into running, especially like middle distance running and distance running, made it so is a huge part of my success, because like a huge key to my actual who I am as a runner, because wrestling taught me to have taught me to be very disciplined. It taught me to be very disciplined and have a very strong mindset and a very strong skill, like working set. So like in wrestling, we would go and we would just grind in the room for hours, and it was really tough practices. And quite honestly, there haven't really been as really tough track workouts that I've done. There's still not a lot of practices that have really compared to wrestling. And I liked it that way because it taught me to be tough. It taught me to be tough and keep persevering no matter what. It's the same way that it's the same way in a cross country and track, where like, okay, the race isn't over yet. There's no point in quitting now. There's no point in quitting. And same, it's if you put that into a wrestling match, um, there's another guy going at you. So it's eat or be eaten at that point. So you got like kill or be killed. So you just gotta have that good mindset, that killer mindset. And that's absolutely what's carried into running, because when you're hurting at the end of the race, it's no one but you out there. As much as track is a team sport, and cross country too, at the end of the day, you are the one in your shoes running. You're absolutely the one in your shoes running, and you can only worry about yourself. In the same way that as in wrestling, as much as it's a team sport and you have a team score, it's only you on that mat. It's you and one other guy on that mat. So it's up to you what happens. So I think that's a big key to my mindset right there, for sure.
Cool. So, moving on from your high school days, I believe this summer you competed in what is called a sprint triathlon, if I'm not mistaken.
I did,
Yeah.
yeah.
Could you briefly explain what that is, and then I have a follow up after that.
Yeah, so a sprint triathlon is so it's the shortest distance of a triathlon. There's sprint distance, there's medium distance, I think. There's Olympic distance, and there's Ironman. Like there's half Ironman, and then there's full Ironman distances. So the sprint triathlon is a 500-meter swim, a 10-mile bike, and a 5K run. And I have, like, my uncle's actually done Ironmans before, and ultimately, that is one of my goals in life. That's one of my biggest goals, I'd say, to complete one of those. But I think that triathlons are so cool, because it's still a very I'm trying to think of the word for it, kind of athletic approach to like endurance running and everything, and endurance training. But it's just so cool because you're still competing for a little bit, and it's just a fun race. It's a really fun race. And I did it with my mom actually this past summer. Was my first one ever, since I've done them when I was like a younger kid, but it was like really really short distances, and quite honestly don't remember it too much. Um, but this one was really fun. The swim was absolutely brutal, and it's always brutal. No matter how much I try and think I'm like a pretty decent swimmer, it's still very hard. And then the bike is good. I think in that race, the bike was probably I went too hard, or a little bit hard, because it took me about 10 minutes to do the swim, which felt like 30 minutes. And then I got on the bike and I got done with the bike in around 31, 32 minutes, I think, which was still like just over 3 minutes per mile, which is cruising pretty good. And then the thing is, you get off the bike and then you go to like transition into the running. And it's a very quick transition because you already have your running shoes on. And it's not like you got to put anything else on to go run. You just got to hang the bike up and then go. And you get off the bike and your legs feel like noodles. Your ass is completely numb. And starting to run after that is definitely interesting. But I ended up finishing I finished the run in 16:55, which was the best time in the entire race out of like 300 some odd people. So I was confident in that for sure, and that gave me a good base of where I was at for going into cross country season.
Well, obviously, you were in the midst of cross country training or summer training, that is. But did you do any like pre swimming or pre biking before that?
Sometimes actually, I not much during the summer, but actually when I'm here, coach has me doing cross training once a week, and so she kind of just says like go cross train for 60 to 75 minutes, which for me, I mean like I don't really like just sitting there on the bike and going for 75 minutes. So I usually for my cross training days, especially during track season, I go into the pool and I do a bunch of like dynamics and like some fast drills. And then I actually have one of my friends in who's a swimmer in one of my classes, and she gives me swim workouts that I actually do. Like I did a swim workout last week. It totaled to be about a mile and a half of swimming, which I believe is like it's so great for like I think that there's definitely certain strokes and everything that's great for runners too, but ultimately getting in the water is just absolute resistance for your whole body, and it's great aerobic training as well.
It's good to know. Oh, you know.
So my next question is, what's your favorite race you've ever ran?
My favorite race, like event or
Like
or
specific
race. Wow, that's actually that's a really good question. I feel like I honestly have a couple. I have a couple, and I'm trying to keep it not biased because I could tell you one that is my favorite in high school, and then also my favorite in college was honestly my school record, because that was a big eye opener for me, and it was one of like my first really kind of big boy times, to be honest. So, but the reason why my 800 record was so special to me was because going into the race, like it's you guys will come to realize that regionals and SUNYACs is literally right smack in the middle of finals. Come outdoor, and it's no fun ever, So that whole week, I honestly was like, and I ended up getting a 3.6 last semester, so I'm glad I focused on my school. But I went in not really thinking too much about the race. I came off of a good race, like very very small PR at SUNYACs. But going into the race, I remember I wasn't thinking about it like crazy. The workout that I did 2 days before we left for regionals, I honestly went way too hard on it. It was a 4x200 at 400-meter pace. So I ended up running like 23-second 200s in a workout, and I felt really good, but I'll tell you what, my calves were blown out afterwards. And I remember even going up to Coach Chris, and he was saying that like he was helping me roll out my calves before the race and everything. And I didn't have crazy expectations or anything. I knew that either way, whether I broke the school record or not, I would have had another year to try at it. But I went out, and a lot of the racers, I snuck into the last spot in the fastest heat. And a lot of the people that I was racing against actually ran at a different meet 5 days prior, and 3 of them went 150 flat, like 150.6, 150.7. So I knew that this race was going to go out hot. And I was on the very outside lane, couldn't really see anybody else. I took it out pretty quick when the gun went off. And my plan was to just sit myself right in the beginning of the pack and not at the front, but I think I'm definitely more of a front pack runner. And I like to just hang on for dear life. But I went out, and I remember at the time I was a 153 flat guy, and I went out, and around the first 300 meters, there was a 150 guy right in front of me, and then another 150 guy right in front of me, and then there was a decent gap to the second pack, and I was like, oh boy, I'm in for it. And I kind of just hung on. I came through the first 454 flat, which was definitely pretty quick for that. And then 200 to go, I really kicked it. And I was trying to keep this Rochester guy who runs at UVA now. And I was trying to keep him right on my toes, like right in front of me. And he definitely got a little bit away from me. I tied up a little bit in the last 100 meters, and I ended up actually going from second to fourth place. So I was a little annoyed that I got scalped like that. But at the same time, I'm still proud of myself for putting myself in the race and actually just really hanging on no matter what, because I knew that, like, when it came to that race, I just locked in, and I just wanted to really stay to myself and do what I needed to do, and not be afraid of anything. Like, not be afraid of any outcome, no matter what.
It's awesome. Question: do you feel like that was a breakout race, or do you think that that time was slowly building up for you?
That was definitely a breakout race for me. That's why it was kind of my favorite. That's why I would say it's my favorite race, because that was, for me, that was the first realization where it was like, oh, like that's a pretty cool looking time right there, you know? And it definitely made, because I always would say that my huge goal, like my biggest goal, would be to break 150 in the 800, and it really wasn't until after that race that I actually believed I could do it. And that kind of gave me that a little bit of confidence, because I know that, like, I know that I've been training so hard for it, and I want it so bad. So I'm going to keep going towards it, and no matter what, I'm going to try and just focus on the things that I can control until that time comes again, because I know that I still have a lot of time before I'm in peak shape, outdoor shape. We still have a lot of time and a lot of work to do until then.
Mhm. Going from 153 to 151, like especially when you're running that fast, that's a big jump.
Mhm.
Is there anything you did in training, or just like a little thing that you switched to propel yourself?
Um, a little thing I did, I would say, um, I really started focusing a lot more on speed and power, because starting, I started running as more of a distance runner, and my coach Deggs has always wanted me to be an 800 runner, but I really started to figure out that it's almost just as much of an anaerobic and a sprint than it is a distance race. So I've been really trying to focus on power and my lifting, and, like, not even just my lifting, but also just my general strength. My general strength in my hips and my knees and my Achilles and my, like, calves and everything, because ultimately those kind of injuries are going to put you out more than anything, or any kind of weakness you have in running, because you can't go through an injury that always. So I needed, just bottom line, I want to keep myself healthy enough to be running still, and keep myself strong enough to keep moving forward.
Coming off of whether it's a cross country season or just getting back into summer training, how long do you think it takes you to regain that top foot speed after taking a break?
Um, Honestly, that's a great question, and that was kind of the great question that I was asking myself after this past cross country season, because I never went so quickly from, at least besides high school, but I don't really remember too many races where it went straight from cross country to track in high school. But there wasn't I didn't know what kind of 600 or 800 I was capable of coming right off of cross country season, where I only had about a week or two of strength and um, fast switch under me. So I was honestly surprised of what I was capable of coming off of that. But it just means that I know that there's still work to do, and I know that there's still a lot of more sprinting technique and potential that I can tap into.
Cool.
This track season, what are your goals, and in your eyes, what would make a successful season for you?
Um, are you talking about this indoor season or this outdoor season?
Collective as a whole, or you can break it down into each.
I would say that ultimately, ultimately my goal is to just I want to win SUNYACs. I want to win SUNYACs really bad, and no matter what, I want to have great races, and I want to continue to just learn as a runner, and just overall, I want to just enjoy the sport and have a great time with the team and everything, full of just training hard and staying locked in. But running wise, like I definitely would really like to go sub 150 by the time I leave here. But also, if I don't, I also know that I still have a year of collegiate running left to do it after this. I'm not sure exactly where I'm gonna go yet. I'm not committed anywhere, and I haven't sent out applications yet. But I do know where I'm gonna send out applications to. So ultimately, I want to get myself in a really good spot. I want to learn a lot, and I want to just have a lot of fun with this season.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to it.
Can you give us a hint of where you might want to go?
Or is
Is
that-
D1 the goal,
or is that very
Or is
classified?
that classified
Yeah.
information?
Yeah. So no, it's not necessarily classified information. It's just at this point because I was always scared to talk about it because I know it's very real, but I don't want to like talk and talk and talk and then it just had not end up working.
Mhm.
I would feel like an idiot. But my top school right now is Boulder, Colorado.
Mhm.
That would be they have a really really great 800 program out there. They have they have a 48, 148, 149, and a 150 guy. So I know I'm not too far off from their times, and I know I also have things to offer to a team like that. Um, and I just ultimately still want to be able to use that last bit of eligibility I have, because aside from their track program, they also have a great elementary education program out there as well
Mhm.
that I'd like to use. And also, as much as I love Oneonta, I've been here for 4 years now, and I really just want to see some really cool, like, new places.
Mhm.
And just I want to travel and see some cool stuff before I really settle down with my job and just move on with my life. But yeah, as of right now, I definitely would like to wherever I want to go. I'm also going to be applying to University of Florida and University or UCLA, so and Malloy University at home. But ultimately, I just want to be able to go somewhere that's going to really support my education, and I can still run,
Mhm.
because ultimately, I also really want.
Yeah. So, kind of going right off that, what are your running plans post collegiate? Like, do you run 150 when you're like, holy crap, maybe pro is a thing I could do, or you obviously just talked about going D1 possibly. So, what's the idea, thought process there?
Honestly, I mean, pro would be cool, but I also don't know unless I run like 147, 146. I don't know if there's too much of a conversation about professional running, but my plans post collegiate running is I want to be as great of a mentor as I can. I want to be just a great running mentor with a solid running resume under me and be able to teach people and make people enjoy the sport and remember why like running is actually a ton of fun. And I want to help people unlock their full potential in the sport, and because I know that's exactly what made me fall in love with it. So but um for myself, I want to my ultimate goal is to complete an Ironman.
Hmm.
And I always thought that the sport of like ultra endurance was really cool, between ultra marathons and all that stuff. But I think that I would like to think that I could rip a pretty serious time in an Ironman or maybe in an Olympic triathlon. So that's definitely one thing I want to do. And then I definitely still want to be able to, mess around in like a turkey trot or something, and still be fit enough to say run with my high school team. I want to be that kind of coach that is in shape and can still run with their team instead of just like that tubby coach that's sitting on the sidelines that doesn't even want to move around in a cross country meet
Yeah.
and is just yelling at them to run faster.
Right.
I don't know if I see myself like that.
So is this a confirmed? Because I know you're going into teaching and all. Is this a confirmed you like really want to go into coaching at some point? Definitely.
Yeah, I honestly I just think that my approach to it was that um with teaching there's still a lot for me to learn, and there is still a lot of certifications and everything I have to go through. So, and this that was the main reason why I came here. I honestly do regret not picking up a coaching minor while I was here, but it's obviously too late for that. So, my ultimate goal is to like how I see myself going into the sport of coaching or into coaching is showing is like if I once I get in my foot into the door of like an elementary school or something, and I look around the district and I see if they have either a track program that isn't doing great or doesn't really have a consistent coach, my goal is to be able to show them a pretty solid running resume and be like, can I help? Even if I start off as an assistant coach and then work up. I know I don't have as much. Um, I know I don't have as much experience with a lot of track events and everything, but I still would like to. I'm very open to learning, and I'm constantly surrounded by the sport of track, even at home. My best friend Nick also goes to University of Boulder, Colorado, and he's a decathlete there. So he's definitely very knowledgeable of the other track events that I don't necessarily do myself. But I think that coaching would be something that I would have a ton of fun with in my life, and it'd be great because it would go hand in hand with teaching, and it would be a I would be a ton of fun. It would be a ton of fun.
Awesome.
Talking teaching, why early childhood education and why education as a whole?
Um, so so the reason why I decided to choose childhood education was because of I think that my personality um I think my personality complements it, because as much as sometimes have doubt, or which is completely normal, or even think that I want to go into the high school or middle school, I think that my overall personality and my values in life kind of go well with being an elementary school teacher, because a lot of it is having a lot of patience and being able to connect with kids, and like being able to connect with kids on not just a teacher to student kind of way, in just a overall mentor kind of way, which is what I want to be. And I know that some kids don't aren't like I know I was fortunate enough in life to have a great family and great parents that supported me, and sometimes there are kids that aren't fortunate enough to have that, and I want to be able to help them and be there for kids because it's honestly they're a ton of fun, and I think that I think teaching's great because um, because there's opportunity to make pretty good money and also have a job that you just genuinely enjoy going into, and it's you can mix it up differently, and you can see some different people or go to different grades.
Mhm.
And aside from that, even money wise, there's not always the best money involved in it, at least at first. But the way that I thought about it was that you also have your summers off, you have your holidays free. And that's something that I envy because I do plan on having a family of my own once I'm older. And I plan on also being there for them as much as I can. So if I could spend my holidays with them, even in my summers, I can still do whatever I want and have fun. But also, um, I also could use that as an opportunity to make more money. And I could start doing other things that also would be more demanding. But I could also do things such as like real estate or something, where I know that it's a very hard line of work, but it's not, it's could also be a passive sort of income
Mhm.
while I'm teaching. So that's kind of how I thought about it. And I just thought that with the way that I am as a person and the people that I'm around, everyone loves it. Everyone honestly loves it. And if not, then if they don't absolutely love it, then you go into a part of it where you do really enjoy it.
Mhm.
But that's yeah, I'm definitely excited to get into it, and I've been learning a lot about teaching, so I'm really excited to go into it. And I start student teaching next semester. I'm with fourth grade math and science and second grade, so it's going to be interesting to say the least, but I think it'll be great.
Is that the age range you want to end up being, or do you want like younger kindergarten, first grade? Or?
Personally, I see myself as more middle to higher elementary. I myself as a teacher, I don't necessarily see myself being the kind of teacher that is talking like a baby, like baby talking students, or also I don't see myself being the kind of teacher that's like singing or stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
And not saying that you absolutely have to,
Uh-huh.
but I don't see myself treating whatever grade it is any really differently than I would treat like middle schoolers or
Yeah.
or sixth grade. And I think that there's good ways to look at that, but also some ways where you do obviously they're learning like I was in like a first grade classroom and they're learning like 4-letter words, like they have a lot to learn. But I want to be the kind of teacher in a way that obviously you have to assess the kids and everything, but ultimately grade doesn't matter. The grade that you get in third grade does not matter. Like, could you tell me what grades you were getting
Yeah. No
in
idea.
like first grade?
Well,
Like,
actually, I
exactly. Like at that point, the grade that you give the kids doesn't matter as long as they're growing. They're showing signs of academic growth and also just personality growth, and they're just becoming an overall better person. That's when you did your job.
Well, pivoting back onto the track now, can you talk about not just physically but mentally, because this is something that me and Noah have ever dealt with before, how mentally demanding it is to prepare yourself to go through the heats of an 800, not just one championship 800? Because I feel like that's something that I haven't even thought about yet. I know I'm not primarily running the 800. Just going through heats of something seems kind of scary to me.
Yeah, well, that's definitely something that took me a second to get into as well, because going through heats of a race as painful as the 800 is definitely a learning curve. But there's definitely a way that you can do it that kind of conserves yourself, but also you have to have the mentality going into the finals that, you know, I'm not the only person that their legs feels kind of dead, and like it's okay. That's kind of that's how you weave out the strong mindsets and everything. well, like um, sometimes I really just there's some races where you can be a little bit more conservative, and sometimes you can get put in a good heat where you can be confident enough to, as long as you sit in the front and you don't need to kick like crazy at the end unless you have to, then you can keep the race a lot more controlled, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas the second 400 of the finals of an 800 is like the farthest thing from controlled, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's every man for himself who's still in it, who's still really in it, and who wants it the most. I know even just after watching some, like, for example, like the Olympic trials and stuff like that, where you have to go through like semis and quarters and like all like maybe like 800s over the course of like a week and a half. And at that point, everyone's dead, and you gotta just be able to stay in it. But that's definitely I wish there wasn't. I wish there wasn't, but we work with what we got, you know.
As a college freshman, what was the hardest thing you had to adjust to?
As a college freshman, I would say the hardest thing I had to adjust to was living. As general as that sounds, living, like, you have a crazy amount of freedom when you're getting into college, and as a runner, you can devote however much time you want to it or how little time you want to it. That's what I like about it, is that it's all running's as much as you want to make of it. And when you're going into like college and everything, you obviously want to first and foremost get adjusted to grades and making sure that you're staying on top of your schoolwork and doing everything you can with that. But also realizing that all the free time you have, you can spend a lot of time doing that small stuff that you need to do to be a great runner. Whereas that's like eating well, or like taking care of yourself, getting some good sleep. And it's really just, what I'm trying to say is, it's time management is the hardest thing I'd say to learn, at least for me, because you could spend it like goofing around or like doing some stupid stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think that's honestly also a huge part of it. I think you should be able to enjoy yourself and not always be so locked in. I know for me, i I can lock in when I need to be, but I wouldn't really say I'm the most straightforward person ever.
Mhm.
I like having a loose and like personable personality where you can crack a joke, and like, or you can also just not take things too seriously, just have fun with it, but make sure you get everything in that you can, and plan out your day so where you're not scrambling to get homework done, and you're eliminating stress as much as you can. So, because if you don't do that, then you're going to be stressing your balls off all the time.
Yeah.
For
It's no
example,
fun.
right now, because just to give like a perspective, I don't know about Noah, but for me specifically right now, I had a final this morning. We're recording this now in the little free time I have. Then I have a final tonight again, and then I have to run after that. And that is the life of
It is.
collegiate
Yeah.
athlete
It
player
is,
right
and
there.
sometimes that's how it happens.
Yeah,
that's how
so-
that's how it ends up going. But you got it.
You got
You
it.
got it.
You end up and you
So
do it.
good.
So that's what happens. All right, here's one that I'm interested in. As a primary 800 runner, how important do you think? Because I'm pretty sure this was your biggest summer ever, if I'm not mistaken, like mileage wise.
Yeah, I'd say one.
How important is it to have such a high aerobic base for an 800 runner? Because I know you talked about the speed stuff. But
Yeah.
What about the aerobic?
It
stuff?
honestly, it's so crucial, and you know what? It's very crucial to, I think, me, because of the way I handled the higher mileage, and I think that the way I've been feeling very, very fit coming off of that, I don't necessarily think that high mileage is crucial for every 800 runner. But it all depends on the actual kind of person and who's actually going, because like for me, I feel very, very confident under the higher mileage. And as much as this actually, I honestly was hoping to do more mileage this summer, and I think I'm going to do more next summer. I really only got to like 50s, 60s by the end of the summer, like the last week right before the time trial.
Right.
So I definitely think that building that base, because it's not only like your aerobic base and everything, but it's also your durability.
Right.
Your durability and more time in your shoes, and just more time at work, you know? And that's what I think is so huge. It's just like time at the office, you know? Except you're just on the roads
Yeah.
and just cruising around. And we are lucky enough to call that our sport.
Right.
And like I think that is definitely huge to be able to take that, and also not only just for your like aerobic capacity but also for your mentality, because you know that you've done so much to become such a better runner, and you put those mileage in and you taking care of yourself, and you ran when you really didn't want to, and all that makes you so much stronger.
Right.
Hmm. So my last question for you is, where do you find your motivation to consistently stack workouts on days you don't want to, and why do you run?
um why do I run? I would say I run because I want to just keep being a better version of myself that I can. Because running is a kind of sport where it's a very it's very black and white. It's very black and white and clear as to if you got better or if you didn't, and if something feels better or if it doesn't. And I think that overall, just the consistency and remembering that this could come back to haunt me if I miss this workout, and it's just that kind of, if I don't do this, then it's going to mess up this other part of the week, and where I'm supposed to do this instead. And having those kind of confusion and mishaps in running, because you should control everything that you can during running, because there will be times where you physically can't go out, where you're feeling genuinely hurt and you can't go out for a run or something, and you have to cross train, or you have to just take a rest day, or even if you just have like a ton of homework and it's like absolutely pouring outside, it's okay. Like, you know you just have to take care of yourself and keep that consistency up, and do anything you really can. Control the controllables, because you never know when you won't be able to be on top of something. But that in running is what's gonna keep pushing you towards success and keep um, getting giving you that edge on everyone. You want to go into a race knowing that I have this, and this under me in my training, and I am more prepared than any other dude out here on the line with me. So that's kind of why you want to have that, and you want to keep that confidence up.
I think that was my biggest confidence builder in cross country season this year. This is the first time I've ever been on the line thinking I can go out and whatever. It's probably going to be too fast. Let's face it. But I can go out and whatever and have confidence that my training will take me there. And I never really felt that in high school. And I think that's one of my big pros about college is that, like you said, the confidence that your training will take you is really awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome.
So I only have one more question, and then we'll get into the cool down unless you have anything else.
I'm all good.
Okay, so this one seems to be giving people the most trouble, and maybe I should have given it to in advance.
Uh-oh.
But just favorite workout you've ever done?
Favorite workout? Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's one workout, and I don't necessarily think that I don't necessarily think that this was my favorite workout at the time, but looking back on it, it made me so much stronger of a runner, and I'd credit that to brutal 20 quarters. I did it in high school, and that was one of Deggs' staple workouts, and he would give it to us a couple times during during winter season and during the spring season. And when he would give it to us in winter, we would, the sun would go down before we would finish. And the reason why it was such a good workout for me, and I would definitely say it would be one of my favorite workouts to look back on, is because maybe part of it is because I know I'll never do a workout like that again.
Yep.
And like I can look back on it and laugh about the pain that I was in during it, but also how much I've grown during it, because he would start us off running like 77s, 75s, and there wouldn't really be as much sets. It would just be straight through 20 by 400. But the rest would honestly get kind of longer because, to be honest, people would throw up, or not going to lie, we would completely walk the cool down. I mean, like, we would walk in between the reps, and, because it was it was supposed to be a jogging 100-meter out and back rest. And the first rep you're like, oh shit, I'm feeling good, and then you get to rep 13 and you're like actually slugging it there. But it definitely made me a lot stronger of a runner, because we would try and end, and Degs would be yelling at us to go sub 60 by the last 2 reps. And it was really tough, because even at that point, it was so dark. We would be at the 200 mark and we couldn't even see him across the track because our track didn't have lights. So that's just one workout that like I have very engraved into my memory, because I would seriously dread that workout more than like some races.
Dang.
And like I'd be sitting in school and I'd be like scared to go to practice that day, And the same, I would have that same kind of anxiety the way that I would before a race.
Right.
And that's just one workout that I had that I know made me a lot better of a runner and made my mentality a lot better. But we've also done really great workouts here, like the Michigan. I remember that you guys did it with us this year. I remember last year we did it, and it was like beautiful. It was like same thing, 6 a.m, and we just got like a beautiful sunrise for it, and everyone was just cooking and had a great day, And those are the kind of great workouts too that they're fun, because in the moment, sometimes if you're really hurting or something, it's hard to appreciate it. But those are the moments that that you look back on running and you're like, damn, I was just out there at like 6 a.m. ripping like 5:15 pace with the boys, and I was having such a great time.
Yeah.
And you're gonna say that you miss it later on in life.
I'm well aware, so I'm nervous about that, but we still got time. So that's really the workout. You completed the workout. Boom.
Let's
there you
go.
So now we're gonna cool down essentially with our kind of rapid fire type, easy questions. But yeah, so Noah, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So, largest animal you can theoretically beat in a fight.
Oh man, largest animal I could theoretically beat in a fight? Huh. I want to say maybe like a cat. Like a big cat, obviously not like a house cat.
Okay.
I'll have you know Kelly said a tiger.
No way. I'm not saying exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying like a big cat. I'm saying like a maybe like a, oh, dude, I almost want to say a panther, but I'm getting mauled by a panther.
Yeah.
I'm getting mauled. Maybe a kangaroo.
Ooh.
A kangaroo, I feel like,
I'd love to see
is
that.
is like up there, and I could reach his jaw. I could, I could reach that kangaroo's jaw. I would definitely have to weave a couple of like the drop kicks, like with the legs coming at you. I'd definitely be kind of like weaving it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think maybe if I get like a good knuckle to the jaw on a roo, like that thing's down.
All right. Chipotle or Moe's?
Oh my God, this isn't even
Okay.
dude, Chipotle all the way.
Good.
Thank you.
I literally eat. The only reason I eat Moe's is because it's here, and I have a Moe's at home, but It's just not Chipotle.
Thank you.
It's just
Thank
not.
you.
It's
Thank
just
you.
not
Yes,
Chipotle.
Very true.
And it's just when I eat Moe's, I like to think it's Chipotle, even though it's not.
All right. Favorite pre-race song?
Pre-race song. I feel like this honestly changes a lot sometimes. Lately it's been "Dirt Off Your Shoulder" by Jay-Z. That's a really good song, but also I like "Dance Now" by Jid,
Okay.
which is a really good song. I like the songs that get in the pre-race that get me just like bumping and just like jumping around and like dancing. I love that.
All right, we're just gonna start ripping them now.
Oh
Split
yeah.
shorts or half tights?
Wait. Split shorts or half tights?
Yeah.
Split shorts for cross country, half tights for track.
Gotcha.
All right. Full tights without shorts or with shorts?
Full tights without shorts. It depends where you're running though, because if I'm running through campus, I'm having shorts on. But if I'm just like jogging out at like Stanford in the morning, like I'm letting them go.
Favorite pro runner?
Favorite pro runner, Clayton Murphy.
Favorite spike for the 800?
Nike Victories.
All right, best Pixar movie?
Oh, God. That's a good one. That's a good question. I might have to go Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo.
Go to
Like, that's a
ice
Pixar
cream
movie.
flavor.
Yes.
Wait, go to ice cream flavor?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Oh. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
All right. I've never heard that ice cream flavor.
Well,
And then,
like Reese's
right.
Reese's ice cream.
Gotcha.
Reese's
And the
ice cream.
last question might be controversial. Does Taylor Swift deserve the praise?
Oh, I don't. I don't. I mean, like, obviously I can respect she's a good artist, but like, especially after seeing her in like all the football games with the Chiefs and everything, and like it just really, her fans are just too crazy sometimes. And like I've seen it in a lot of people, and I'm like, holy moly! I'm like, you are a Taylor Swift fan, but like I don't know. I think she pisses me off right now. Also, just because she's getting so much attention, even by like the NFL. Like, what? Since when does the NFL care that much about Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
Like, it's annoying.
I'm right there with you. I don't know
Yeah.
about you know
Yeah,
it.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a funny question.
Yeah, I know. So that's the cool down. Now let's just take a moment to stretch it out and just anything you want for us before we wrap, wrap it up.
Any advice for us?
Or any
Dude,
questions, whatever.
honestly, the advice that I would give you guys is, you guys have been doing great this semester between everything with staying on top of your grades and just really training and just being a student of the sport, which I really appreciate. And I know that it's not easy because I've been through it myself and I handled it way worse than you guys did.
You
So
also had COVID as well.
yeah, but excuses and excuses.
Right.
So you know what? Like, it is what it is. Just have fun. Don't make excuses. Control what you can control, and just have fun. Like, college is such a damn good time that you don't wanna waste it at all. And like, just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to like do something you've never done. Don't be afraid to be spontaneous and go. If someone says something like, "Oh, let's go, just like let's go sledding at like 12 a.m." Like, screw it. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Just like go out. Don't take things too seriously. Be aware of who is going to be beneficial to have around, and keep the people close to you that you know are going to be supporting you no matter what. And because in college you're going to meet a lot of people. You're going to meet a lot of fake people, and you're going to meet a lot of real people. And keep the two-faced people out of the equation, and be real with yourself and be real with others. That's really what I could say, honestly.
I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Mr. Jarski, thank you for being here with us. It was a
Anytime.
pleasure.
Thank you
That's
for
gonna
having
wrap
me.
it up. That's gonna do it for episode 4. Thank you for watching. If you stuck around this long, I really hope you did. That Taylor Swift question was awesome.
No, yeah.
And so we will see you in the next one.
And stay
Yeah.
classy, Oneonta.